Hello, everyone. Welcome to the weekly home workshop. I'm Terry Taylor with the Tailored Realty team. Every Wednesday at 12:15, we spend just about 15 minutes breaking down real estate topics for buyers, sellers, and homeowners. It's simple, it's practical, it's easy to understand. If you're joining us live, thanks for spending part of your lunch break with us. If you're catching the replay, you're in the right place. Let's go ahead and jump into today's topic. Today, we want to talk about how much house can you really afford? How much house can you really afford? And on last week in episode 2, we were talking about the real cost of home ownership. So some of those kind of topics will come back up. But how much house can you really afford? And this is something that Yolanda and I deal with on a pretty regular basis whenever we're dealing with buyers. There's a big misconception, and that is that your pre approval amount is what you should spend. So let's go ahead and clear that up right now. Your pre-approval amount is not necessarily what you should spend. Okay, let's just get that out there in the open. It may be, and it may be what you spend, but it's not necessarily what you should spend. Okay, so lenders are generally they're going to approve you based on math, strictly on the numbers, and they're not looking at your lifestyle. Remember, there are certain things that will come up on the pre-approval process and there's certain things that won't come up. Your grocery bills. How often are you taking your kids to activities or whatever those extracurricular things are? May not show up on your pre-approval um, worksheet, and those are things that the lenders aren't necessarily looking at. So you want to make sure you take those things into account, whether they have or not. Remember, your comfort in your home matters more than your max approval amount because and just because you can doesn't mean you should. What's the scenario we're kind of talking about here? Let's say you're approved for, and we see it quite a bit. Let's say you're approved for $300,000. So, okay, hey, I got my pre-approval letter. You're coming to us. Or you're going to your real estate agent. Hey, I've got my pre-approval. I'm approved for 300,000. Well, the next question we're going to ask you is, so tell me this, based on what you approved for, what payment are you comfortable with for a mortgage payment? I'm going to let that hang there for just a second. What payment are you comfortable with for a mortgage payment? Because sometimes, and oftentimes, we're going to find that that's a little bit different number than what your max approval amount is. So again, that just that leads us to the statement that your pre-approval isn't necessarily what you should spend. Let's look at the numbers that do matter. Okay. Number one, what's the monthly payment you're comfortable with? We kind of just started digging into that a little bit. Then, number two, you have to look at your total monthly obligations. What are your things that are outside of this mortgage payment that you're going to be responsible for? Do you have a car payment? What kind of credit card debt do you have? What's your lifestyle? How often do you go out to eat? Do you have entertainment? Remember, I know there's a lot of families out there and kids participate in a lot of the AAU tournaments and travel ball. We were a part of that for years. There's an expense associated with that. And at the end of the month, how much flexibility do you want to have left over after you've made this mortgage payment along with all your other monthly obligations? Remember, you got to put the lights on. There's water. There's sewer bills. Some of the things that we talked about in episode 2 will also come up. Now let's be real. How often do you travel? A lot of people. Some people like to travel a lot, and they take vacations. They're out once a quarter, or once every couple of weeks. They want to go somewhere and do something, even if it's just kind of local. They still, sometimes people want to do those types of things. Well, there's other people that uh, they have charitable donations they like to give to, whether it's their church or again, some charity or nonprofit organization that they're a part of or that they like to give to. Those kind of things you have to take into account. And remember, at the end of the day, a lot of times, depending on what you're doing, if you work for yourself or even if you're with a company, some of your money is obligated towards going towards your savings. And again, whether that's savings for retirement, or life after work, whatever it is you want to do, or if it's savings towards things like we talked about on last week. Remember when we were talking about the cost of home ownership? There's maintenance costs. There's sometimes a big ticket item might come up, and you want to have stuff set aside for savings. So all in all, home ownership should fit your life. It shouldn't restrict it. Okay, so you don't want this to become a huge headache. There's another thing you want to consider whenever you're talking about how much house can you afford. When you begin to look, and when you're starting to go out and view properties, if you're in that space and you're buying a home, if you're approved for, let's say, 300, but you determine after you've done your budget, because really all the stuff that we've been talking about before, all it is a budget. You want to create a budget worksheet so you can figure out how much house you can afford. And trust me, if you come to us at Tailored Realty, we have some of these budget worksheets and tools, and we have the questions that we'll ask you. We'll lead you in the right direction. We'll take you down the right path towards home ownership. But again, we're going to ask you certain things that your lender may not have asked you. And it's not because the lender's not good. It's just because the lender has one focus, and that's seeing how much they can qualify you for. And, that's their job. That's what you went to them for. How much house can I afford? But then again, you have to do the behind the scenes activities and do the work and answer questions honestly about how much house you can afford. But back to, again, what we do with our first time home buyers or home buyers in general. If you approve for 300, but you determine I can only really afford a $250,000 home, that's where I want my payments. Don't go out looking at $300,000 homes. Do yourself a favor, do your agent a favor. Don't do that to yourself, because $300,000 and $350,000 homes look different from $200,000 and $250,000 homes. They just do. A lot of times, they're bigger. They have more amenities, they have more upgrades, whatever the case might be. And if you get yourself stuck looking at properties up here when your payments are right here, you're just going to create a lot of headaches for yourself. And you're trying to, how do they say it? You're trying to put a round peg in a square hole, or however the phrase goes. You're trying to do something that's really not going to fit. So don't do that to yourself. If you're at 250, look at 250 and below so you don't mess yourself up. Okay, those are some things that can really make home shopping for that perfect home. It can make it a little bit more challenging when you start yourself off like that. So you got to be budget minded whenever it's time to purchase a home. Don't forget, you got utilities, maintenance, you got insurance. You got to think in monthly comfort, not purchase price. In other words, at the end of each month, what do I look like? And if you do this kind of budgeting exercise, you'll avoid payment shock when you get to the closing table. Okay, a good home fits your budget and your peace of mind. You want to be able to lay down and go to sleep at night in that beautiful home that you purchased. So these are just some things that you want to consider. Budgeting is key whenever you're figuring out how much home you can afford. Okay, so let's just do a real quick self-check and ask yourself the following questions. Can I still save? Okay, can I still save after this payment and after all of my expenses and everything that I'm responsible for? Do I still have the ability to save money? Can I handle a surprise repair? Because they're coming. And we've talked about, too, making sure you get your home serviced, in essence, with a home inspection, see what's going on with it. But let's just be real. Surprises and sometimes accidents occur. Things happen. And there's a surprise repair that's going to come up. Do you feel like you'll be able to handle that? And here's another interesting question, even though, feelings try not to get involved with it. But do you feel excited about this, or are you stressed by the numbers? Whatever that number is, does it stress you out, or are you excited because you know you can handle it and you know everything will still be in order at the end of this payment that you have to make? So those are just a few quick things you want to consider whenever it's time to purchase a home. Remember, affordability is personal. It's going to be different for each individual. And you want to think numbers first, emotions second. If you do that, I promise you, you'll be in a good position. You'll be in a better position when it's time to go out and see how much house you can afford. Don't let the numbers fool you. Just because you're pre approved at a certain amount doesn't mean that's the amount that you have to spend or that you're supposed to spend. And that's part of the job of a good real estate agent. Your agent's going to ask you a lot of questions. They're going to lead you down the path and make sure you're thinking about things that you may not have thought of at the beginning of the process. That's what we're here for. That's part of our job. That's what we're going to do. We're going to ask you, sometimes we'll ask you the tough questions. And again, we'll ask for permission, but honestly, we want you to be satisfied with your purchase. We don't want you to regret any of the moves that you've made. And certainly, you don't want to be in a situation where you buy this year and then next year you're having to sell because you didn't account for certain costs that you're going to have to make. Now, in the past and in upcoming episodes, we're going to share a lot of things with you. Certainly, I just put our QR code to our website on the screen. Go to our website. We have some tools on there. You can book a consultation. We'll talk with you about some of your needs. We even have a mortgage calculator on the buyer side. If you click to the buyer section, you'll see there's a mortgage calculator in there that helps you deal with the financing. Just to give you an idea of how much home you can afford based on what payment you want to make, right? So your payments, your mortgage payment, how much home that would be based on the rates. And you look at the rates. We'll help you with any of that stuff you need. We got a lot of other resources that we'll be sharing with you. But quite honestly, that's what a good real estate agent is out there to do, to help you make sure you make wise decisions during the home purchase process, help you make wise decisions, or even give you resources for maintaining the home that you already have. And certainly, we want to be there for you when it's time for you to sell. We want to put as much money in your pocket in as short amount of time as possible. That's our goal. So we thank you. If this was helpful, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who can use it. And just remember, when you're buying, selling, or just planning ahead, once a client of Tailored Realty, you're always a friend. We'll see you next Wednesday at 12:15 for the weekly home workshop. Thank you for stopping by on your lunch break. Next time, again, feel free, even at the end of this recording or at the end of this show, add your comments, and I'll be sure to get back to you if you have any special requests or comments or questions that you want to ask. This is just something to give you food for thought. Again, we're trying to give back a little bit to our community, our families, our network, and we just hope this is something that will help you out. But again, share this with a friend. Come on board, take 15 minutes out your lunch break, and let's just talk about some of the things that can help benefit you in one of these processes. We're going to wrap things up just a little bit early on today. It is 12:28. Hope you've enjoyed this episode. We look forward to seeing you next week. Take care. Have a good one.